What if one email could show different content to different people based on what they've told you they actually want to see? Sounds like a dream, right? But it's actually a reality if you're using Kit, formerly known as ConvertKit, as your email platform. And that's what I'm going to be showing you guys this week. But before we dive into this, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you never miss a tutorial or upload. All right, let's get into Kit. Okay, you're going to be shocked when you see how easy this actually is. Now, there are other slightly more complicated ways you can do this where you allow content in based on certain tags and things like that. I always like to keep it simple, right? So what I have done is actually exclude certain content based on a tag existing on a subscriber. And I'm going to get into the details of that. So as you may or may not know, I also here on the channel have content that is my Faith and Focus podcast, which is specific to Christian entrepreneurs, people who want to see that type of content. But I know that that's not true of everyone in my audience. So in my TSA weekly newsletter, I wanted to include aspects of that in the newsletter, but allow people to basically opt out of it so that if they want to keep things strictly business and not get into the faith stuff at all, they won't see that. But I don't want to or have time to write 2 separate emails, put 2 of them into my platform and have them both going out, right? Too much work, and there's a lot of potential for somebody accidentally getting both emails, and then that's annoying and all that good stuff. So I went straight to the research to see, like, is this even possible, this dream I have of hiding certain pieces of information based on a tag? And it is. And it's actually pretty simple. So let me just show you the template for my TSA weekly newsletter. It's got the things that are always going to be there, my header, my little beginning section, all that good stuff, my links and everything. But then I have the section here on my Faith and Focus podcast. So what I have is, unless the subscriber has the tag, no God stuff, please. That's what I've called the tag. Unless they have it, they're going to see this content. So instead of me saying, if they have the tag, don't share the content, I've defaulted it the other way around because it's just simpler in the system and it's cleaner. It's less likely to have problems or not work correctly. So basically the way this works is you're going to do the fancy bracket. It looks a little bit like you're coding, but honestly, don't let that scare you. It's not. But you're going to put the fancy bracket. You're going to put a %sign. And then it's unless subscriber.tags contains, and then you put in quotations whatever the tag is that should be excluded from seeing that information that they've opted out. So unless they have that tag, and then you're going to close it out with the % again and the fancy bracket. And I can put this in the comments just so that you have the example of, you can just copy paste it, whatever. So you start that section with that text. That will not show up in your email unless you forget to close it out. And that's the important part. So you've got this here and it says, okay, from here until you see the close of this section, this unless section, all of this content will be hidden unless they have that tag. Okay, so you're going to close it out here in the same little layout section. So you don't want to do it in a separate section. Honestly, I haven't actually tested that theory, but I don't know why you would want to test that theory and put it in a separate section. There's no reason that you can't keep it all within one section. But anything in between this first set of fancy brackets and the second set of fancy brackets where we've got our end unless, that's where we're telling it, okay, I'm done with this. Anything inside that, just think of it as though they're like really big parentheses, is going to show up for a subscriber unless they have this tag. Does that make sense? When I started doing this, I originally sent out a poll in one of my emails that people could vote on the poll early on and it would automatically tag them. So they could just opt out of this right away. But what if they didn't get that poll, right? What if they didn't get that email or they missed it or they changed their mind or whatever? So if they are seeing this content and they decide, I don't want to see that content, I've also made sure that I include a button here that is always going to be visible to people who see this Faith and Focus section, that when they click that button, it's telling me, and then of course it's telling the system that they don't want to see this anymore. And so clicking this button will add this tag to them, so they now become excluded. So we've got this, it's going to automatically take them to a particular URL, which in my case, I took them to the thank you of that original poll because it says the same message that I would have wanted to say. But you can't stop there. There's one more thing you have to do. You have to come in here and click on this automate lightning bolt, I guess, to say, what is this button supposed to do? So you click on that and you're going to go over to tag and you're going to tell it which tag it should be adding. So we had the no God stuff, please, right? So I'm going to click on that. So now when somebody clicks that button, not only will it route them to that thank you where they see like, okay, thanks for letting me know, you won't see that content, blah, 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 but it's also going to automatically add that tag to their subscriber so that the next time this email goes out, they will be in the unless and they will not see this part of the email. Amazing, right? Saves you so much time not having to have different versions of your email that are sent to different lists and things like that. All one email, half the time for you, half the effort with just a little bit of setup at the beginning. The online tools for your business do not need to be complicated and overwhelming. It's time to let it be easy. I hope that you liked that video and more importantly that you found it helpful. And if you did, I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel and sharing it with a fellow solopreneur. And make sure that you check out the description for links for how we can connect and maybe even work together.